Hey everyone, it's Liam Mulcahy here with the SAT Initiative. We're looking at G1, conditional statements and logic. So now we're looking at G1 like I said, and this is what the state of Virginia wants us to study. So first we're going to look at identifying the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive of a conditional statement. And then we're going to translate some verbal arguments into symbolic form. And then we're going to look at using Venn diagrams to represent set relationships. And we're going to finish things up with some deductive reasoning. Alright, let's get started. So, the way I remember converse, inverse, and contrapositive is I remember converse is the flip verse. That means you flip the two statements. Inverse I remember as the not verse. So you make everything negative. Converse is, or contrapositive rather, is the flip and not verse. So you flip everything and insert the word not or no or any negative word. So here's an example. A lot of people use the word tighten up, and I didn't really understand what that means, but now I sort of do. So I'm going to try my best here. So, if my friend is acting a fool, then I will tell him to tighten up. Now, the converse of that statement is, if I tell my friend to tighten up, then he is acting a fool. The inverse of that statement is, if my friend is not acting a fool, then I do not have to tell him to tighten up. The contrapositive would be, if I do not tell my friend to tighten up, then he must not be acting a fool. So, that's a good example of converse, inverse, and contrapositive. Let's move on to the next objective. So, G1, symbolic logic. Basically, everything's the same. Remember P and then Q, Q and then P. Now remember the squiggly line means not, or the negation of that term, and the little arrow means then, is the then part. The if is assumed as the first part. So that's all there is to this. You're going to need a little bit of practice. Alright, Venn diagrams. So up in the right corner here where we see this means and, this is an or relationship. If it's shaded on the outside, it can only be one or the other. Two separate circles means no relationship, and all of the inside is part of the outside. Let's look at a couple examples with this. So basically, all Armstrong basketball players are Armstrong students. I know that's not actually true, but just use this as an example. So you see Armstrong basketball players are inside of the Armstrong students. And you can also make the statement, if a student is on the Armstrong basketball team or is an Armstrong basketball player, then he is an Armstrong student. Now, there's another relationship here. Some Armstrong football players are also Armstrong basketball players. And that's shown with this Venn diagram here, because there's that and right here. So they're football and basketball players. Alright, now let's go to the next one. Here's another one. Armstrong and George Wythe are rival. Those Bulldogs over there. So, we got to show our Wildcat pride. So anyway, no Armstrong students are George Wythe students. These are completely separate circles. So if someone is an Armstrong student, then he is not a George Wythe student, or she is not a George Wythe student. Alright, let's go to the next section here, deductive reasoning. Alright, so if someone likes Migos, then he or she likes rap music. If someone likes rap music, then they like Beyonce. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily true, but just use this logic. Now, the conclusion is, logically, if someone likes Migos, then they love Beyonce. Alright, now here's another example of deductive reasoning. Everyone who isn't a Patriots fan hates the Patriots. Now, Terrell isn't a Patriots fan. Now, we can conclude from the provided information that Terrell hates the Patriots. Okay, so that's basically G1. It might not all be that easy, but these are the basic ideas that are part of G1 and you will see on the Geometry SOL. Thanks for watching, and check out SAT RVA for more material. Thanks so much.